Good morning, everyone. I'm Tabitha with Tabs on Tap. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm having an echo myself, so hopefully it's not echoing over to you guys. But good morning. Good to see everyone. Hopefully I'll see everyone. I know I didn't plan a show today very well, so I'll be watching hopefully for some folks to join in for some comments because I wasn't really sure what I was going to do today. It's really hard to do a show from on the road. And many of you guys probably know that I am right now. My son and I, actually, Zachary and I, are both traveling through the state of Georgia trying to get the vote out for Donald Trump. So we are certainly doing our best to make sure that happens. And I'm going to get into that. I know I have Colonel Joe Adams joining us. He should be joining us any moment. I would love to hear from. We haven't had talked to Colonel Joe Adams in quite some time. So I'll be happy to have him join us this morning. Things are a little crazy here on the road. I'm here again in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Georgia, right outside of Blairsville. And I think people here are preparing for that hurricane that's getting ready to come through. I haven't really seen a lot of signs of it yet, but yesterday when we were out canvassing, we did see some signs on some different doors telling people to prepare and to get ready for a potential hurricane. So I don't know in this area, you know, I know areas like Valdosta might get hit pretty hard, but me being up this high, I'm not really sure if we really have a lot to worry about, but I guess we'll soon find out because I know we're having little bands of the storm coming through today. It's going to really come through, I think, the worst Thursday night into Friday morning. And I'm still working on getting Colonel Joe Adams on. I know he's waiting in the wings, but he got started maybe before I did. So he might have to go out and come back in. Let me see here. Sorry, when I'm a one person show, I kind of have to do all the producing sometimes where everybody can see it. So I don't know what else to do. Let's see here. I'm going to see if I can reach out to Colonel Joe Adams real quick and ask him to log out and log back in because he got started way ahead of time. I'm here. You guys can probably see the beautiful scenery behind me. I am again, now, right now, I'm in Murphy, North Carolina, and we're staying at a cabin here along the Nautilus River. And so I'm really hoping when this storm comes through that it doesn't cause this river to rise because it is just a couple of feet behind me and it's a raging, crazy river anyway. So we'll see what happens. We're both kind of keeping an eye on that. While we're waiting for Colonel Joe Adams to join us, couple of things that I wanted to go over. Good morning, Allison, and good morning, Rob. And yeah, Allison, I am working on getting back. I see Colonel Joe Adams popping in. I'm working on getting back into action, but it's hard. I was up running around this morning. The last time I did a show, I used my cell phone. So this morning I actually set up all of my equipment. I'll be here until Sunday morning. So I might be good with my setup until then. And I don't know yet what city we're going to next or how I'll be able to set up, but I'm going to get into that after we talk to Colonel Joe Adams. And because I really want to see what he has to say. We haven't talked to Colonel Joe Adams in quite some time. So happy to have you, Colonel Joe Adams. How are you doing this morning?
Hey, good morning. How are those rabies shots going?
I hadn't even gotten into yet telling
Oh,
everybody about getting bit by a dog. I didn't get the shots though. I don't these days. I don't trust shots, so I'm just taking my chances.
are the dogs okay?
So far. They were good. It wasn't their fault, Joe. You know how it is. We traipse onto other people's properties and then expect everyone to behave like we would want. But no, I was in their territory, so I absolutely forgive them. Not their fault. But
Everybody that comes to the ranch here, the first thing they ask is, "Where's your dog?" So
oh
keep.
yeah, I'll tell you, I think everybody in Georgia has a dog. If they don't have one dog, they have multiple dogs. I've been to very few houses where someone didn't have multiple dogs and cats. I love it. If anybody doesn't know, this is Colonel Joe Adams with the Washington Guard, and you can see Washington Guard. Go to the Patriots at washingtonguard.com to reach out to Colonel Joe Adams. Uh, Joe, it's been a while since we've talked to you. How are you doing? What all's going on?
I'm sorry, I was talking to my wife. Say again.
Oh, I said it's been a little while since we've talked to you. I said, how are you doing? What all's going on?
Oh, we're like in post scenario after the event, our banquet. You were there. Everything's kind of settling back into normal now. We're already planning next year's banquet. So, by the way, I'm talking to Ted Nugent. He's excited about it, and also Rocky Sickman. Wait, which when I was talking to Rocky, I don't know if he's shared this with too many people. Rocky Sickman, who was held captive hostage for 444 days. Something hit me after when I was speaking with him. Of course, we have our own. He has his version of what happened, and other than what he actually discloses to the public. But he said, by this time, the hostages in Gaza and God knows wherever else they are, they want to die. They're in that
Yes.
phase of being held hostage where they want to die every day. And every day they're being tortured. I mean, every day they're convinced they're going to die that day, be killed. But at this point, it would be a relief for them if they would just be killed. And that doesn't come from me. That comes from Rocky Sickman, who's been there, done that. Terrible.
Joe, I can't even imagine.
I can't
I,
either.
I cannot even imagine. It's crazy to think that it's almost been a year. Isn't that? I mean, it seems like it was so. To me, it just seems like it was a couple months ago, but it's been almost a year. It is absolutely horrific. And from what I understand, some of the hostages are still alive. But I would love to hear Rocky's story.
Yeah, he's quite a guy. We'll get him on your show when you get back.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah,
Absolutely fantastic. Well,
he's my
Joe,
neighbor.
what again, we haven't talked to you in a while. I have been out on the road, as you know, campaigning for Donald Trump. I'm still keeping an eye on the news, but I'm kind of curious what's going on in your world that most concerns you,
I
outside of course, Trump losing.
I don't know. I watched Joe Biden's speech before United Nations, and I know most people that I've talked to say, "Well, we just turned it off." But you need to pay attention to what he said. And a couple of things that he said was that he tried to convince the United Nations that he decided to step down from power. And he was telling the other people there, the heads of state, that sometimes it's better to step aside for the betterment of the people than to stay in power. Now, power, he's in power. So he says a lot without realizing what he's saying. Of course, he didn't write the speech, but when he said he stepped aside, he was forced out because he's mentally incompetent. And the
Yes.
world knows that. But to stand there and tell the other people that sometimes it's best to let go of the power, then that's the mentality. These people think like him. It's a power play. It's not serving the public. It's self-serving the Democrats' power, and that's what it's all about with Kamala Harris is getting somebody else in there to stay in power. It's not
No
about.
question about it.
It's not
And it's
doing
not
what's right or wrong. No, these people are just power hungry. That's all. Can you imagine Ronald Reagan
fair.
saying that? No, Ronald Reagan was for the people. These characters in the White House, they got to go.
Joe, I couldn't agree with you more. And that's one thing I'm hearing out here on the road in Georgia. Hundreds of homes that we've been to and talking to different people. They all agree completely with your sentiment. I think we all know, as Tulsi Gabbard even told us recently, probably the first person ever who's actually admitted it, is that, Joe Biden, he himself is powerless. Kamala Harris, she's powerless. But the regime behind them, just as you're stating, that's all they care about anymore is power, control, money. They want to. We know, Joe, and I know you know that this country, we have pillaged other countries for decades. Taking their minerals, taking their oil, taking their gold, taking their money, and it's all just to stay in power. And that's why they want Donald Trump out, because they know he will interrupt their plan.
Right? Anyway, you know, I watch MSNBC and I watch CNN just because I want to see their twisted version, and they're claiming that the crime in this country is down because of Joe Biden. It's down. No, it's crime reporting is down. Crime is at an all-time high. Look, did you hear about the police officer killed by the illegal here in St. Louis in the last couple of days?
Absolutely. Yes.
Horrible. And they called. They had him in custody before for the same thing as far as DUI, and beating up his girlfriend and stealing the baby. And they called the feds to say, come get him. Nothing. Because the feds are ordered not to come get him, and they released him. And now
Awful.
he's killed a police officer.
Awful. And,
They're,
and how many times are we going to tell that story, right? Because
right.
how often has it happened? I've read countless stories where we've had police officers attacked and killed by illegals. We just had the female police officer shot with a shotgun multiple times in Texas by a Venezuelan illegal. We've had little girls, raped and murdered by illegals. But nobody wants to talk about it, right? It's a bad, you're not even supposed to say the word illegal anymore because of course that's not politically correct. You're supposed to call them, what is it, undocumented migrants, or they don't even like the word undocumented anymore. It's like, Joe, how many times are we going to tell the story about somebody raped and killed with these illegals and no one does anything about it? And it's the same old story every time where, they've arrested them, they're on the radar, they let them go. When are we, the people, going to have had enough and do something about it ourselves?
Well, I predict that's the face of the civil war coming in this country. It'll be about the mass immigration to this country. It's just going to get worse. And I mean, like Kamala Harris, supposedly she's going to go visit the border, right? She's been there once. She wasn't even at the border. So if our borders are, I was going to go visit the border. At the same time, they're still bringing in by aircraft 30,000 a week.
Yes.
So while she's there, at least 5 to 6,000 people will cross the border into the United States while the borders are there. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the theater of the absurd. This is
It
insane.
it is
And,
insane. I mean,
and Biden also made a comment about that we are now in a world of chaos. Well, if you look at the Marxist playbook, that's part of the plan. And a big chunk of the world in chaos today is because of the White House, because of the West. We've talked about it before when I met with the former prime minister, that the West wouldn't allow them to take out Hamas a long time ago. Now look where we're at. They're right. The world is in chaos.
and you're right. That actually is the Marxist playbook, as you stated, because that's what they want to do. Is they want to cause chaos because in the chaos, that is how they divide and take power. And we see it happening. It's playing out every single day before our eyes. I don't know, Joe, what we're going to do with all of the people who have come into our country. I call it the great replacement theory because we know they are here to replace us. They are here to push us out of our homes, to push us out of our jobs. And it is absolutely true. People might think that that's going overboard saying something like that, but we see it happening every day. I just talked about a jobs report a couple of weeks ago where we had 635, I think it was, thousand jobs that Americans would normally be working have been taken over by illegals. It is the replacement theory. They're taking over our homes, our jobs, our doctor appointments. Someone told me they are working their way into our education system. And these are people who are here illegally. They have broken a law and they should not, I'm all for immigration, but people need to immigrate. They need to come here legally through a legal port of entry. They need to be vetted. They need to be here for the right reasons.
Yeah, it's our biggest problem right now in this country is people talk about the economy. The economy is the big push for who gets elected, but behind the scenes, it's the people that have came here illegally, allowed to, and profited by it. Why should they go home? They're
Right.
being paid. They've got it made. They make more money here from our federal government in a month than they would in a year in their countries. Who
They
wouldn't?
make more money than us, Joe. I've said this story before. I talked to somebody who was in the trucking industry, and they explained to me that our trucking industry, and I'm sure it's happening in many other industries, they intentionally hire illegals. They pay them the typical salary they pay everyone else, but the government pays the illegal the exact same salary. They double the salary so that they will work. And what they're doing is they're having them on these 6-month contracts. They'll hire them for 6 months. The company is paying them, the government's paying them. And this is with intention. It's not a mistake. This is how they are intentionally paying them. They're getting double pay. They're also getting all free benefits. They're still getting their food stamps and all of their other free educational items, free tuition, free childcare. I mean, and then in 6 months, if they behave themselves and they continue to work, then they can bring the rest of their family over legally and they can become legal citizens. They get amnesty. It's wrong. I mean, could you imagine, Joe? If you're out doing a job and the person next to you is here illegally and they're making twice the money you have and receiving all of these free benefits, it's wrong.
And it affects the minority communities that we have in this country the most.
Yes, it does.
A lot of those jobs could be utilized by the people who need the money, who are citizens, raise families here, but they haven't had the opportunities. And so, especially the black people should wake up and say, "Hey, you know something? Why are these people here? Why are their social benefits higher than ours?" But yet, no, the black community, because of this massive immigration, is being left behind, and that's a dirty shame. A
It
dirty.
is. And, Joe, that's where, and I know you know this is where it's all starting. Because, like I've said before, let's say that just a city like Washington, Missouri, if they had illegals coming in by the thousands and moving, citizens out of apartments and moving them in, and they were starting to take over the businesses because they're giving illegals loans of, I've heard, up to $50,000 to start their own business, a cash loan up to $50,000. They're not doing that for Americans, but they're doing this in, like you said, the minority neighborhoods. If they did that in Washington, Missouri, guess what? The citizens of Washington, Missouri, they wouldn't stand for it. It would be all over the news. But if they do it in a low income community in some of these crime ridden, predominantly black neighborhoods, guess what? Nobody pays attention. No one notices. These people get upset about it. They care about it as much as we do, but they don't have the same voice, unfortunately. And so by the time we realize that these illegals are taking over, it's far too late.
Well, it's like the city of St. Louis. They're repopulating the city of St. Louis with illegal aliens from all over the world
Yes,
without taking care of
Afghans.
their own people. And that's a black administration. They
Yeah,
don't see
20,000 Afghans.
they do not see the damage that they're doing to the city of St. Louis. They are ruining St. Louis. Now, of course, St. Louis City's got its own problems, but this is a temporary band-aid they're putting on the problem of population and taxation, creating businesses from people from overseas and out of the country. Down the road, they're going to be very, very sorry of what they've done. They've already got areas down there they call Little Somalia in Afghanistan. They don't understand they understand what they're doing, but it's about power, staying in position, power for the city of St. Louis. And like I said before, we elect the wrong people for the wrong reasons. And the city of St. Louis is that example. And all they're doing is going to make things worse 5 years from now.
Of course, but you know what? They don't. I don't think they care, Joe. I don't think Democrats care. And I'm talking about Democrat politicians. I don't think they care at all. I think it's part of the big agenda, their 30-year plan. And the Democrat citizens, who I think are largely good people, I think they're just brainwashed. They just don't understand what's going on because if they're watching MSNBC or CNN, they're not hearing the same stories we're hearing. And then when we try to get through to them and we try to tell them exactly what's going on, they think we're extremists or they think, oh, stop listening to Fox News. But these things are really happening in the world. And there's a segment of our population, Democrats, who have no idea what's happening around them. I've talked to Democrats and talked to them about illegals in, their cities and all of these different things. They don't even know about it. I always think, how could you not know? But they don't know because they're watching these channels that never discuss it.
Yeah, until it's in their own backyard, they're not going to understand. And these people that's passing all of these funds to support these illegals, that's treason. We have all the laws on the books. Now they're going to write some more bills about the migration, the immigrants coming. We already have the laws, and they worked for decades, but they're not enforcing them. So, and people's not going to obey the laws if you don't enforce it. But also on that CNN, I happened to see CNN yesterday. I love seeing Michael Cohen, the former attorney for Trump.
Little
This
droopy
guy,
dog.
oh, it, To look, he always has the same expression on his face, deer in the headlights. He's lost. You can tell he's claiming now that if Donald Trump is elected, it's the end of democracy in this country. Now, and they put him on TV. Now, this guy has perjured himself a dozen times. He stabbed his client in the back, and you're going to listen to him? You're going to listen? I mean, he's the worst of the worst. He's simply doing that because he needs a side. Somebody will side with him because everybody else hates him. And he gets on these TV shows and says that, don't vote for Donald Trump. He's the lowest form of life. Well, Michael Cohen is. He is a rat. But yet you won't see him on Fox News, but you'll see him on CNN. This guy is
Oh, of
just
course.
a disgrace. He should still be in jail.
He should still be in jail. And it's really sad to me that Donald Trump somehow ended up having somebody like Michael Cohen in his inner circle. I always refer to him as a droopy dog because he just looks, he's got those little droopy dog eyes. I can't stand the sight of him, quite honestly. And yes, he belongs in prison. And I don't believe anything he says. And of course, back when he was Trump's active attorney, Democrats hated him. Remember, they didn't believe anything he said.
Right.
Now he's in
Right.
this spot, of course, where he's their big cheerleader and going on record talking about Donald Trump and what a bad person he is. I mean, I don't think he has credibility with either side at this point. I
He,
hope not anyway.
he redefines Benedict Arnold. He's nothing but a traitor. He's out for himself. He makes me sick. Just give you a heads up. I had a meeting yesterday with people in the know with the group that I belong with, and they're starting to concentrate on Russia and what they're doing in Africa. So in Russia, when they finish this war, they're going to have big occupational forces in different parts of Russia. And of course, we know what that's about. It's natural resources, but they're going to spread the populace there. But you need Africa is very similar to what Turkey was probably 15 years ago, and nobody knew then that Turkey is the nucleus of the intelligence industry in that region. They're much more powerful than what people know about. But this big Russian movement, it's already started. It's going to get huge in Africa. And the problem with that is the fact that these countries that Russia is going to make a deal with are easy. They just want the money. And the people who's going to take Russia's money, they just want the power. But Russia's going to make a big, big move here in this next 2 or 3 years into Africa.
And Joe, if it makes perfect sense because obviously BRICS includes Africa, and more African countries are applying to join BRICS. Obviously South Africa already having done so, and it doesn't surprise me. And some people may not understand why I say this. I hope that Russia does go into Africa, and I hope that they. And as you said, I know that it's a lot about their natural resources. There's a lot of minerals and different things throughout the country of Africa. Of course, they have diamonds, gold, a whole bunch of different resources. However, what they also have is a lot of terrorists in Africa, and I'm sure you know this, of course, is that terrorism has really taken hold. The Army of Islam, some of those Islamic groups have a really big stronghold in different parts of Africa. And the one thing I do hope is that Russia liberates these people because these people experience such atrocities. They're already dealing with famine and disease and so many other problems, and now all of a sudden they have, gosh, what is it, there's a couple of different groups there, Islamic groups, who have taken over parts of Africa, and those people, I really can't imagine how they're living. Russia is becoming more powerful all the time. Now that BRICS has the higher GDP, they control a higher population in the world than, of course, NATO or G7. I don't doubt anything that you're saying at all.
Yeah, don't get me started on NATO.
Yeah.
NATO is a big part of the problem on this planet right now. Uh, but this Russian push is also very, very quiet. What they're doing down in Cuba. and nobody's talking about it. It's amazing how many things are going on in the intelligence industry that nobody even is even addressing or knows what's going on. And I think I saw a number yesterday when I was talking to Border Patrol last night. Uh, they're saying over 300,000 children now that they have no idea where they are. Well, when I spoke with Border Patrol yesterday or last night, they said it's closer to a half a million
Wow.
children. That's a lot of kids.
It
A lot of
is. And it's a lot of kids. I really hope that the majority of those children are with family members. I know back when Donald Trump, of course, was our president, Democrats just went crazy over back then it was 13 to 1500 kids that were missing that had crossed over our border illegally, unaccompanied minors. And the majority of those kids at that time, they were coming into our country, they were locating family members would pick them up, you take them wherever they went. And since the family members were also here illegally, they just disappeared. But that was only like 13 to 1500, not half a million. I mean, I can't even imagine where these kids are. And Democrats take no responsibility at
Mhm.
all. Because when it comes to half a million children, those children are not all with family members. And there's no process to prove that someone is a family member. They are not DNA testing these family members. Now, they started doing that under Trump to DNA test to make sure that these people really were related before they took these children, but they're not doing that now. They haven't been doing that under Biden.
Oh, when I was with Border Patrol, working with Border Patrol for 12 years, and when I left there in 2018, we had rescued over 1,000 women and children held by the cartels that they were bringing in for the sex slave trade industry. Over 1,000. Well, and that was a big deal. We apprehended over 10,000, but released and took by other means from the cartel over 1,000 women and children. Now that was a big deal then. Now it doesn't seem like anything.
Right.
There's
Right.
that many coming in every day.
Every single day, unaccompanied. And these children range anywhere from the age of infants up to 17 years of age. And I remember at one time when we had about, I think this was under Obama, we had about 50,000 unaccompanied minors coming through our border, every day at times. And then just think that number quadrupled under Joe Biden, quadrupled. And of course, there's people who send their kids off with the smugglers, or they send their kids off with the coyotes. They send them off with caravans of people, just hoping that their kids come here and reach other family members or have a better life. And Joe, I don't even like to talk about it, and because I think that it's a terrible way to get the morning started to think about these things. But look how many of these children never even make it across the border. They find children's bodies all of the time between Mexico and here. Kids that have brutal, terrible things have happened to them through these cartels and other people that these parents have trusted their kids with. And that blood is on the hands of the Biden administration because they could have stopped this and they refuse to.
Well, that's part of the plan. Chaos. I mean, I've talked about this for the last 3 years. Chaos is part of the plan. They have to create chaos in every way, shape, or form. I mean, Britain right now is under fire from the illegals revolting. France is under fire, and nobody's talking about it. There's only one difference between the United States and Britain and France is the fact that we have armed citizens.
That's exactly it. You nailed
Armed,
it.
and I told you before what they told me to pass the word up here from the Texas Rangers and the Texas Highway Patrol, the National Guard down there that I finally got to speak with, the Sheriff's Department are telling me to tell you people, arm your family. Used to be able to protect your family. Now they're saying arm the family. We're in deep trouble.
We are in deep trouble. And Joe, I'm so glad you made that point because that is the only difference. I watch video after video after video in the UK and Ireland, in France, all of these different countries who have taken in all of these hordes, millions of illegals into their country. And the illegals in these countries, and I know you know this, they're attacking citizens with machetes. I can't tell you how many attacks have taken place just in the past month. They
You
are
know why they
attacking.
use machetes? Do you know why they use machetes? You know why they use machetes?
I don't.
Because the countries they came from, the average person couldn't own a gun. And
Mm.
so the weapon of choice are the machetes.
Isn't that awful? I
Yep.
can't, I really can't even imagine having machete wielding illegals in our country, attacking our citizens. And it is, I almost fell off my chair. Sorry about that. It is happening because, I just read a story the other day about a little, I think he was 3 years old. A woman, an illegal, came up and stabbed him in the neck and killed him here in the United States. Now, this happened quite some time ago. But I think, Joe, I think things happen in this country more than we know. The media just chooses not to discuss it.
Well, and also the politicians in these towns don't want it publicized the fact that they've lost control of their cities. At the same time, they won't let the police do their job. At the same time, they want to take our guns. The one thing that separates us from all the other countries is an armed U.S. citizen.
That's
And
right.
so, in our own federal government doesn't want us to be armed. The one thing that separates us from everybody else, that keep us free from whatever we have left of freedom, is our weapons. I personally will never surrender my weapons ever, because
I'm with you,
if I
Joe.
do, if I surrender my weapons to the government, it's over.
Well, let's hope and pray it does not come to that. I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm out here in Georgia, because I am fully convinced if Kamala Harris wins this election, whether that's by legitimate votes or by cheating or by whatever means, I think one of the first things they're going to do, well, the first thing they're going to do is take away your right to free speech. And then the second thing they're going to do is they're going to take your guns. I see it. I see the writing on the wall. I have no doubt that that's going to happen. Of course, she says it's not going to happen because she makes all kinds of ridiculous promises that she can't keep. They are going to come after your guns. There's no question about it.
Hey, I just saw a post from Jay Saunders that says that we as patriots must stop being complacent. Well, hey, Jay, take a good look at this picture right here, okay? I am not complacent. I will never be complacent. And so and that's why I started the Washington Guard. We are a group of people who are not complacent. And Jay, you ought to come out and see us and see what we're doing. Hey, Tab, I know you got a short show today. I'll let you finish out with your people. And I'll see you next Wednesday, okay? And be safe and watch out for them damn dogs.
Thank you, Colonel Joe Adams of the Washington Guard. If you want to reach out to Colonel Joe Adams, because I'm telling you, safety in numbers. They have a plan. Reach out to them at
Just
patriots at thewashingtonguard.com. Join up. When I get back, Joe, you're going to see a lot more of me because I'm going to be joining him to be coming to meetings. I might not be back till November, but hey, I will eventually be back. And I'm
okay.
going to be
Now,
right with you.
the Patriots at the WashingtonGuard.com. We used that was during the event. Now it's just the WashingtonGuard.com.
Oh, thank you for clarifying that,
Yep.
Joe. All right. Well, thank you. And Joe, I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Thank you for joining us this morning again, Colonel Joe Adams of the Washington Guard. So happy to have Joe with us today. And and like Joe said, it is going to be a short day. And I apologize. My lighting was a little bit better earlier. I don't know why it's even worse now. I don't know if I can make it better or not. I don't know why it got so dark. When I first started out, it didn't look like this. I don't know why it looks like this now. And I don't think there's anything I can do to fix it. Who knows? But either way, I'm not, I have to run here in a moment. I wanted to stop in and do a show. I finally got my equipment put together. I'm in a loft of the cabin that I'm staying. And then I did bring all my equipment with me, but lighting is crazy. You can't always control the lighting in the room that you're in. I don't know why I started out so light and now I'm so dark, but I'll work on that. Hopefully, I'll be able to come back tomorrow and join you guys for a few minutes, talk about some other things. I mean, as you guys know, I came out here, I think it was on I believe that it was on the 14th of September, I'm quite certain, was my first day out canvassing here. And hey, Dottie. Dottie says, thanks for checking in from the road. I'm going to check in from the road a little bit more often. But yeah, I think that my first day here was was September 14th. My son, Zachary, we're both here. We're canvassing across the state of Georgia. The state of Georgia, Pennsylvania, there's a couple of states that are very important to a Trump win. And so we are going door to door. We have materials we hand out. We're here on behalf of Patriot Grassroots as well as America PAC. A lot of you are familiar with America PAC. That is the super PAC that Elon Musk funded. And I will tell you, give him a shout out, because if it weren't for him, I don't think we would have made as much progress as we have. I just read the other day that here in Georgia, if you look at polling with any truth to it, we are polling about 3% higher here in the state of Georgia. And I sure hope that's because of all of us people out canvassing. We are going door to door. Now the houses we are going to are low voter turnout, basically. People who don't vote often, who we feel may not vote in this election. So we're going out encouraging them to vote. And it doesn't matter what state you're in, what area you're in. This year, your vote counts. Please get out and cast your vote. Even though we all feel like freedom is an illusion, voting is an illusion, the elections are an illusion. And I'm the first person to tell you, I always feel like it's the illusion of choice, that they try to tell us that our vote counts, but in fact, it really doesn't. But this year, we have to make it count. And we all know that there's a lot of people out there who have it in their heart where you want to get out and vote. And for whatever reason, you just don't. Maybe you're busy, you don't have time. I certainly understand that. Maybe you're traveling. I don't know. But either way, this year is different. We need the vote of every single American. So please get out and vote and look up your local voter resources. That's what we're here in Georgia doing. We're taking around a little leaflet with a QR code that this is a program that America PAC established. They can scan the QR code. And when they do, it'll give them their local voter resources. It will allow them to, if they haven't already, to register to vote. It will allow them to receive an absentee ballot or a mail-in ballot. It'll talk to them about early voting. But we have got to get the votes in. And if you can, please vote early. Vote early as soon as you possibly can. Because we have this year, I kid you not, every single vote does count. So we need it. And one of the things I've noticed while I've been out canvassing, there's a lot of things I've noticed, but one of the things that I really noticed is a lot of elderly people. We have a lot of elderly people on our list because obviously we're going out and we're visiting people who are infrequent voters. And the reason why these people aren't always voting in election is because they can't. It's not because they don't want to. We have a lot of people in retirement homes who have a very difficult time casting their vote. We have elderly people, disabled people who feel that they don't have a ride to the polls. They don't want to inconvenience someone, or maybe they don't even have anyone to ask. A lot of them don't know how to get a mail-in ballot. They don't know how to vote absentee. So it's up to us to reach out to our family, to our neighbors, to our community, and try to find a way to get these people to vote, because we need their votes. We need every single vote we can get. I don't know how else and how more plainly to put that. We all know when we look at election turnout, it's usually about 24 to 35%, and that's pretty universal across the country. And that means there's a lot of registered voters who are not voting. And we have a lot of course, ballots coming in for people that shouldn't be voting. Of course, we all laugh, but it's absolutely true that dead people do vote. So we got to make sure that doesn't happen as well. As I'm out running around and I find out that somebody's deceased, I mark it in my tablet that this person is deceased, because hopefully then we know if a vote comes in for this person, that's an illegal vote. So the canvassing is very important for so many different reasons. But I'll tell you, Dottie says, but the illegals know how to vote. They can. There's always, good morning, Glesna from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Illegals have always figured out how to vote, because there was a federal, kind of a loophole, federal only ballot. But now there are Democrats encouraging them to vote, and they're finding ways for them to get the vote in. And again, it comes back to the replacement theory, where they're going to cast more votes than we do. I mean, that could potentially happen if only 24 to 35% of people in your registered voters in your community are actually casting that vote. they could outvote us. So don't think that won't happen. It happened in Arizona, in some areas last year. So don't, or in last election. Don't think that cannot happen. But I'll tell you, things are wild out here on the campaign trail. And if any of you are interested in joining me, and Lynette, she's probably not listening. Lynette Traers is out this way with her daughter. She's not in my community. She's a little bit further out in the state of Georgia. Turnoutfortrump.com. Check out the website. You could be right out here with us. I don't know how long this project is going to last. It could be up until November 5th, and we'll see what happens. But there's so much to it, and it's really great to be out, going door to door, talking to Republicans. I would say I don't want to give away the numbers, so I'm not going to talk about what numbers I'm seeing right now because I don't want to give them the upper edge, although they probably already know. But man, it's been a good experience. It's interesting to meet so many people. I met this man. He was, I don't know, 98 years old, I believe he said. And we pulled up in his driveway and he had Trump signs everywhere, everywhere. Some really good Trump signs, by the way. A great big sign in his front yard, his big American flag. He answers the door, in his MAGA hat. And he was fantastic to talk to. And when I walked up to the door and I had my leaflet and I told him I was there, campaigning on behalf of America PAC and Donald Trump, his eyes lit up. He had a little tear in his eye, because these are people who are way up in the mountains and people don't typically come up that way, particularly campaigning. And he really did feel, as much as he supports Donald Trump, that he's one of those people who's being missed, that his vote doesn't count. And, when we reassured him that, yes, your vote does count, we came all the way up here into the mountains to talk to you specifically. He's on our list. We want his vote. We need his vote. He had tears in his eyes. It was one of those really fantastic moments. But as some of you know, not every moment has been fantastic. I got bit by a dog 3 times. Was that not, the days go by so quickly? Was that yesterday? It could have been yesterday. And it was, a lot of the homes we come to, I'm pretty convinced every person in Georgia owns a dog, several dogs, sometimes several dogs and several cats. And it doesn't matter if they're living in an apartment or out in the country. This house that I happened to go to wasn't really that far out in the country, but they did have a lot of land and they had 4 dogs. I don't know what these dogs were. They were really tall, very shiny, black, poodle looking dogs, but they were really tall because their heads came up to probably mid chest on me. And I think they were probably just kind of getting past the puppy stage. I don't blame it on the dogs because I'm coming into their territory, so if I'm taking the chance of getting out of my vehicle and walking up to a door and there's a pack of dogs, there in the property, then I feel like it's my own fault. But when I first started heading up to the front door, I didn't see any dogs and there were no signs of dogs. Some people have beware of dog type signs. And I started walking up to this door and gosh, but I don't know what's going on with my camera or my lighting, but I'm getting darker every time I look. But I only got a few more minutes anyway, because we got to get out on the road. We're already running 20 minutes late, but I wanted to make sure I got the show in this morning. Hopefully tomorrow I can get started a little bit earlier. But I was walking up towards the door and then I saw one dog come from behind the house up towards me. And it seemed like a very friendly dog. And then the next thing I knew, I saw the owner and 3 more dogs. Clearly, these dogs were all the same age. They were, again, probably just past the puppy stage, but they're very large dogs. And the owner was super nice, but before there was anything he could do, you probably have seen dogs. Dogs excite each other, especially when they have that pack mentality. And so they were all barking, and I think that was causing more anxiety within their dog pack. And I'm not really sure which dog bit me. I got bit 3 times, twice on the stomach, once on the arm. And I don't know for sure which dog it was. But I told the owner, I'm like, your dog is biting me. He's standing right there. And it was a really strange encounter. He really didn't do or say anything at all. It was really weird. And, but I'm okay. Everything will be okay. But we've had some crazy incidents. There was a guy, and I might have told you guys about this. I don't think I've had a show since then. It's been really difficult to do a show because we have to get up and get going so early in the morning. We don't get back until late. We're sometimes out for a good part of the day. And then when I do get back, I have to do a lot of work. But we had a guy, he chased us down with a crossbow. Then, of course, once we showed him the leaflet, hey, we're, with America PAC, we're out here campaigning for Donald Trump, then he was all smiles and happy and was going to talk to all of his friends and make sure everybody voted early, which is what we're trying to do, vote early. Anyway, some more tales from the road. I'm sure I'll have more as the days goes on, especially here because we have this hurricane heading up through the coast of Florida. And then we're going to have some impact here in this area. I am right outside of Blairsville. We're kind of back and forth between Blairsville. The cabin I'm staying in is actually in Murphy, North Carolina. But I mean, we're just steps away from the Georgia border. And we're about 10 miles from where we're doing all of our canvassing right now, which is right outside of Blairsville, Georgia, up in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I'll tell you what, if you've not been here before, it is absolutely phenomenally beautiful. So be sure to plan your next vacation here in this area. And as I move along, we're leaving here on Sunday, and I don't know yet where we're going. The coordinator, the team manager that manages us is going to let us know. And you can choose where you want to go. We just feel like we want to go where we're needed most. So I'm not sure yet where we're heading to next, but hopefully I will get my lighting fixed so you can actually see me. I feel like if it's not one thing wrong, it's something else. But at least we got to see Col Joe Adams today. And something to keep in mind, something to keep an eye on, and I was going to talk about a little bit more, but I'm pushing my time here, is we have the 45,000 dock workers are set to go on strike October 1st. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this or not, and that's going to be at seaports all across the United States. And we really need to keep an eye on this, and hopefully I can have a show tomorrow. We'll talk about it a little bit more. When these 45,000 dock workers go on strike, it's going to halt everything coming in shipment wise through our seaports. And I think you know what that means, because guess what? We're not drilling our own oil here. We're relying on the oil from other countries that is coming into these seaports, not to mention all of your necessities, your toilet paper and paper towel and some different types of goods and our electronics. There's so many different at least for a few. I see my connection starting to go in and out. Why, I don't know, but keep an eye on the strike. Jay says if they strike, it will be disastrous for the economy and prices. Well, Jay, I am about 99.9% sure they are going to strike. And I think that strike will last for at least several days. And I think we all need to be prepared for that strike to happen. I really do think it's going to happen. I don't know if it only lasts, let's say, a week to 2 weeks. I'm not sure how that's going to affect our economy. It will affect our economy. I'm not sure how, but we're going to talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. I've got my setup. I just got to get my lighting figured out. I don't know why you guys can't see me because I didn't change anything from the time I came on this morning to now, but we will get that figured out as we go along. I didn't bring all of my lights with me, only some of them. But either way, thank you for joining me this morning. We're lucky to get to talk to Col Joe Adams today. Good morning, Bill Robinson and Mary and Dottie and all of the people that I missed as I've been talking here. I hope you guys all have a great day, and I will be touching base again tomorrow morning. Again, I'm Tabitha with Tabs on Tap.